Who the hell are you guys?
Hey everybody, let's freak out over Brie Larson's Captain Marvel costume. So obviously this is a version of the original Captain Marvel costume, the green one from the comics. So I'll try to explain the progression and why it looks like this, why she's walking around, because a lot of people thought that this was actually a fan edit. Like, wait a minute, just remember what it looks like when Ant-Man, Robert Downey Jr. are walking around on set and you get the paparazzi photos, how the colors looked all washed out. They tuned that up in post-production. So like the green of her costume will pop a little bit more on screen. But because we had that big Comic-Con panel last year where Kevin Feige showed off all the footage of her fighting the Kree, fighting the Skrulls, we saw her in the classic red, gold, blue. Obviously, she'll get that version of the costume either at the end of Captain Marvel or either the beginning or the end of one of the Avengers films. Because like the Russo brothers say, they may or may not be introducing new characters, winking from behind the camera. Like they can't confirm that they're going to be doing Captain Marvel during Infinity War and Avengers 4, but Spider-Man style, she's supposed to show up briefly during Infinity War at some point, maybe in the post-credits stinger, and then she'll be a much bigger character during Avengers 4, because that's going to happen after the Captain Marvel movie. This is a clip from that interview where the Russos sort of confirmed that Captain Marvel is going to appear during Infinity War at some point, but they try to talk around it a little bit, and they also talk about the title reveal for Avengers 4.
Is that not official?
Depicting Carol Danvers.
In theory, would that have been fun to do?
It's interesting when you get to bring. It's interesting when you get to play with characters in this universe because you are dealing with actors who have been playing parts for almost a decade.
Yeah,
and it's interesting to bring new energy into the mix, especially when you're doing this massive mosaic of a story. So. There will be surprises, of course, in these movies. We won't confirm.
Okay, fair enough.
We won't
confirm or deny
it. But there's certainly going to be some curveballs thrown at the audience.
Is there a timeline of when we're going to even know the title of the next Avengers film? Like, does that come right out of the release of Infinity War? Do you tee it up? Or?
It is certainly part of the concept of the title is that. It's advancing the narrative, so we're going to sit on that until we feel the time is right.
Right.
And when people have absorbed the first movie.
So if there was any confusion, everything that you're seeing with her in the green costume, reading a newspaper like it's no big deal, is for the Captain Marvel movie. And just because I forgot to mention it at the beginning of the video, yeah, there is a new round of that Infinity Gauntlet giveaway. I'll name a new winner at the end of the video. But there's been a whole bunch of Captain Marvel movie stuff happening lately because she's been practicing with the Air Force people, literally learning how to fly, as she jokes tongue-in-cheek. Like, yeah, she'll be flying when she's Captain Marvel because of her powers, but she'll also be flying because she's a captain in the Air Force, which is where the captain of Captain Marvel comes from. Although technically that was inspired by Captain America. Like, he was the one that told her in the comics to stop calling herself Miss Marvel and call herself Captain Marvel. But we're mixing and matching a bunch of different eras. The green costume was the very first version that any version of Captain Marvel ever wore. So the first version of the character, Dr. Walter Lawson, debuted during the 60s. When he was sent to Earth, he's this Kree person who's sent to infiltrate Earth. He's wearing the green costume. He assumes the identity of the deceased scientist, Dr. Walter Lawson, who is supposed to be played by Jude Law in the film. He gets into a series of adventures with the Avengers over the next 10 to 20 years, the Kree-Skrull War. He almost dies a couple times. He helps the Avengers battle Thanos and take the Cosmic Cube from him. But during the earlier years, they introduced the Miss Marvel character, Carol Danvers, and she got her powers in this accident with this giant device that Jan Rog was trying to use as a weapon. So the thing about the movie is they said they were going to change her origin story just a little bit so it didn't feel so much like a Green Lantern story, because it does read kind of like Green Lantern if you're not a big comic book person. But here's the really cool Easter egg. So the green costume that she's wearing doesn't look anything like the original Captain Marvel costume. It's just the green Kree color scheme. That's the only thing that ties it to that. What it looks like, though, is the modern version of the costume, just a different color. If you pull the current version into Photoshop and just simply invert the colors, what does it look like? It looks like the version that they showed us in the concept art. So whatever is going to happen, whether she's going to recolor the suit or there's going to be some accident that makes it look like the modern version of the costume, she's wearing one of the Kree Army uniforms. Now, it could be Marvel's costume, and maybe at some point during the film he dies and she just starts wearing it, or it could just be a very common version of a Kree military uniform, because the Ravagers are a good example of people that wear the same costumes. Like Peter Quill has that leather jacket, but for the most part, the Ravagers' costumes are all exactly the same. It's kind of the same deal with the Kree army. It's just that we haven't seen other live-action versions of them yet. We've only seen the concept art. So it sounds like they'll incorporate some of the aspects of the Kree-Skrull War and some of her classic origin story with Yang-Rog and Dr. Walter Lawson, but just expect some minor changes from the comic books. And because the movie is currently filming right now, the other thing that they've been talking about is Colby Smulders and Sam Jackson showing up on set. So a lot of people are like, wait a minute, Nick Fury and Maria Hill in Avengers 4? Okay, that's really cool. But the thing is they're not shooting Avengers 4 because the Russos said that they already wrapped, like they filmed their last scenes a little while ago, earlier this month. They have started pre-production on Captain Marvel, so I think that's what we're seeing here. Like, we're seeing the introduction of Captain Marvel in one of the Avengers films, wherever they decide to put it. It's in present day because Nick Fury only has one eye. He's supposed to have two eyes during the Captain Marvel movie because it's set during the 90s. And it's her return to Earth because, like, they're looking up at the sky like, holy shit. So this might be connected to Avengers, but I just feel like they're shooting this for the Captain Marvel movie. So I know there are a lot of longtime Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel fans out there. Most of you are probably familiar with the different versions of her costume. I'm sure there'll be jokes about the classic version, but really, like, the original version was the bare midriff, then they covered that up. She had the cape. Then she went to the sash version that she had for a number of years. And the more modern version also had a sash, but more recently it's become more militaristic looking when she became Captain Marvel. This one is the binary costume, and she still has the binary ability, but this is when she was like stuck in binary form. She become empowered on a more cosmic level. So when she goes binary, it's kind of like her version of hulking out. She absorbs any kind of energy, solar energy, energy weapons, and then can redirect it. So sometimes they have really funny moments where the other Avengers will shoot her with an energy beam to charge her up. Like, give me a charge, I need some more power. So Iron Man will just blast her with his arc reactor. It'll be fun to see Brie Larson on screen with Robert Downey Jr. Because of her military pedigree, she's very good at leading other people. I think, whatever happens with the other older A-list Avengers, if they transition out eventually, she's a good candidate for one of the future leaders of the Avengers. Because I think that someday Spider-Man could be that person, but right now he's only about 16, 17 years old, so he's not going to be leading any teams anytime soon. I know everyone's wondering how they're going to use her powers to help defeat Thanos. Like, what is it that she does that helps tip the scales in the other direction? Because it sounds like they won't have her during Infinity War. The Avengers will either die or get their asses handed to them. Then in Avengers 4, they'll rally, they'll get the help of Captain Marvel, and that'll tip the balance back in their direction. But I think the key is in her ability to absorb energy and her experience battling cosmic beings like this. So make all your jokes about how Thanos has infinite amounts of energy. Just imagine him soaking her with one of the Infinity Gems. If he had the gauntlet, I don't know that she could withstand that. There is a question of power scaling, like how powerful will the Infinity Gauntlet of the movies be compared to the comics? Because like the Odin Force, for example, they tuned that down a little bit. Technically, the Odin Force makes Odin one of the most powerful people in the universe. Like, I would be willing to guess that Captain Marvel would be able to soak Thor's lightning the same way that Iron Man's armor could. That'll actually be pretty funny. Like, he charges Iron Man's armor up to 1,000%. But let me know in the comments, what do you think of the costume so far, and how do you want them to use her powers when they fight Thanos? Congratulations to the latest giveaway winner, Eric Tavender. Please private message me so I can get your contact details. I'll name another winner when I post new Marvel, which should be pretty soon. Just leave all your bonus video requests in the comments below. But click here for that Black Panther Super Bowl trailer, and click here to learn all about Captain America during Infinity War from the directors. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.